I told you he was just my boss. She pleaded, tears in her eyes. Her ex-boss, the man she cheated with, stood next to her, looking pale. They were begging me not to dissolve their bankrupt company after my firm acquired it. The shock was priceless. I just smirked. Don't worry. He's fired. I guess the title gives away the punchline. But the setup is somehow even worse. It all started about 2 years ago when our world just imploded. My wife, who was working as a finance officer, sat me down one night, and through a flood of tears, confessed she'd been using company money. It started small, she said, a few hundred here and there to cover a bill, always with the intention of paying it back. But it snowballed. The small amount had spiraled into a debt so massive it could have bought a decent car. Her company found out, and they gave her an ultimatum: pay it back in full. Now, or they were filing a police report. My mind just went blank. Jail. My wife could actually go to jail. Before I could even process the betrayal of it all, I shifted into survival mode. My goal was simple and absolute. Keep her out of prison. I took time off work. I put on a suit I hadn't worn in years. And I walked into her company's office. I sat across a polished table from her bosses, men who looked at me with a mixture of pity and disgust. And I negotiated. I begged. I laid out our entire financial situation and made a promise. I would pay it all back. The deal I struck saved her. But it crucified me. They agreed to a monthly installment plan, one that consumed a staggering 75% of my salary. My paycheck would hit my account, and a few hours later, the majority of it would just vanish. Life as we knew it ended. We sold my car, canceled every subscription, and started buying the cheapest store brand everything. The financial strain was immense. But the emotional toll was worse. I felt like a machine built for one purpose: work, earn, and pay off her debt. I was constantly exhausted, stressed, and I became distant. I was so deep in my own depression I could barely function. We both knew this wasn't sustainable. She was drowning in guilt, and I was drowning in, well, everything. That's when she brought up an old job she could go back to. It paid really well enough to actually dig us out of this hole and maybe let me breathe again. It sounded like a miracle. But there was a catch. A huge one. Her boss at that job was a guy she had a history with. She'd hooked up with him years before we met, back when she was dating one of his friends. It was messy then, and the idea of it now made my stomach turn. My mind was a war zone. Every instinct I had screamed at me to say no. Don't do it. This is a monumentally bad idea. But what was the alternative? Keep living like this. Drowning for another 3 years. Our marriage crumbling under the weight of my resentment and her guilt. We talked about it for days. She swore it was ancient history. That he was just a boss. And that she would be nothing but professional. We needed the money. It felt like the only path back to solid ground. So, I ignored the blaring alarms in my head. I made a conscious choice to trust her because our survival depended on it. I told her to take the job. Taking that job didn't magically fix everything. In fact, for a while, it got worse. She crashed her car, which was another financial black hole we weren't prepared for. Then, in a moment of sheer panic, she got tangled up with loan sharks. Thinking she could solve a problem without telling me and just adding another layer to our nightmare. During all this, I was barely a person. I was a walking calculator, constantly running numbers in my head, figuring out which bill I could pay late, which expense I could cut. The emotional distance between us grew into a canyon. I knew I was checked out, but I was in pure survival mode. I didn't have the capacity for anything else. But then, slowly, impossibly, things started to stabilize. The loan sharks were paid off. The debt repayment plan was on track. And her income was finally giving us some breathing room. For the first time in over a year, I felt like I could unclench my jaw. And my first thought was, we need to fix us. The crisis was passing. Now we had to deal with the damage it left behind. I started making a real effort. I planned mini dates. Even if it was just getting cheap takeout and eating it at a local park. We started talking again. Not about debts and disasters. But about our day. About stupid things we saw on the internet. I felt like I was wooing my own wife again. And it felt like it was working. I genuinely believed we were rebuilding on the ruins of the last few years. One evening, She fell asleep on the couch while we were watching a movie. Her phone was on the coffee table. And it buzzed. I don't know why I picked it up. Maybe it was a flicker of that old insecurity. Or maybe it was just a gut feeling I couldn't ignore anymore. I opened it. And the world fell out from under me. It wasn't just one conversation. It was multiple threads. There were flirty, ongoing chats with men I didn't know. But the worst was the thread with her boss. The one I was told not to worry about. It was filled with inside jokes. Compliments on her work outfits. Late-night conversations that bled into unprofessional territory. My brain tried to process what I was seeing. Who was this person? How did the woman who I held hands with at the park an hour ago have this entire secret life? I scrolled up. My thumb shaking. Digging deeper. I woke her up. I didn't yell. I think my voice was eerily calm. I just held out the phone and asked, "What is this?" The color drained from her face. At first, she tried to downplay it, just friendly banter. Just jokes. But as I kept my eyes on her, she broke. She admitted it all. During an outstation work trip a few months prior, she had slept with him. Her excuse was that she felt lonely and unloved. That I was so distant. And he showed her attention. She said she regretted it instantly. That it was a huge mistake. But the messages didn't stop. The flirting continued long after her one-time mistake. She claimed it only happened once physically. But looking at the endless stream of intimate messages, a part of me struggled to even believe that. I listened to her excuses and her apologies until the sun came up. There was a lot of crying. A lot of "I'm so sorries." But it all felt like noise. It didn't change the facts. My mind kept replaying the last 2 years, the tense meetings with her company. The sight of my bank account draining to zero every month. The constant, grinding stress that aged me a decade. All of it. I had done all of it to protect her. To protect us. While I was doing that, she was sending flirty texts and planning hotel meetups. The next morning, I didn't say much. There was nothing left to say. I just packed a bag. I moved with a strange, detached calm. Pulling clothes from the closet. Grabbing my toothbrush. She watched me from the doorway. Her face swollen from crying. Asking me where I was going. I told her I didn't know. But I couldn't stay here. Then I walked out the door. The finality of it was the only thing that felt real. We're separated now. I'm staying at a friend's place. And our life is condensed into phone calls and text messages. It's this weird limbo where we're not together. But we're not fully apart either. She's been calling every day. Telling me she wants to fix this. She says she'll do anything. She's willing to quit her job tomorrow. Block her boss on every platform. And cut all ties. She swears she loves me. That the cheating was a monstrous mistake born from loneliness and her own self-hatred. And that I'm the only person she wants. On paper, she's saying all the right things. But something inside me is fundamentally broken. My brain can't reconcile the woman on the phone promising me the future with the woman I discovered on her phone. I held our world together while she was setting fire to the foundation. She says she felt unloved and lonely. Man, I was a ghost in my own life. I was a walking, breathing ATM created solely to pay for her crime. And I never once thought to find comfort in someone else's bed. I think I've realized the problem isn't just the sex or the messages. It's when it happened. Our lives were at their absolute worst. A crisis she created. And we were supposed to be a team. But when things got hard, she didn't turn toward me. She turned toward him. She found an escape hatch instead of helping me patch the holes in the boat we were both sinking in. Now we're just stuck. We're talking about everything, trying to fix it. Maybe an open relationship. A casual setup. Or just calling it quits and filing for divorce if nothing else feels right. But I'm paralyzed. How do you rebuild a house when the blueprint is ash? How can I ever trust that she'll have my back in the next life crisis when she so completely crumbled during this one? Is forgiveness even possible? Or am I just setting myself up to be the fool who gets burned twice? I'm just lost. Reddit. I have no idea what the right path is from here.